Welcome. I am going to be doing a quick trade review over the one trade that I took today. It happened to be on gold longs, as always, so we'll go ahead and dive right into it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So first off, what I'm going to do is kind of go over my outlook, my perception of the market at the time of my trading hours, which starts at 7 and ends at 8:30. Okay, so starting off right at 7 o'clock, I was extremely aware of the fact that the 4 hour candle was going to be closing bearish. Same thing with the hourly, 30, 15, and 5 minute, right? My only issue is that price on the higher time frames is trending bullish. Pretty obvious, right? We're making higher highs and higher lows. We attempted to push higher here, but failed. So my initial bias at this point in time was pretty neutral. I wasn't looking to take any shorts because I just know that in a trending market, especially in the higher time frames, shorts usually they'll play out if you time them correctly, but more times than not, from what I've tested and from my personal experience, price usually does not hit my target. So I was initially just waiting for the lower time frames to align with a higher time frame and look to take a trade off of that. So with that being said, when 7 o'clock hits, we'll just go based off of every 5 minute candle. You can see there were opportunities to definitely take a short, but price never hit my final target, right? So 5 minute, 15, 30, 1 hour, and 4 hour all closed bearish. That is usually an A plus signal for me to look to take a trade. However, I was pretty patient. I didn't want to look for shorts just because of how strong gold has been on the higher time frame, as mentioned. So going for the first 5 minutes, we do see price kind of pull back into this general area of interest, I guess you could say, pulling back about 50% of this previous move lower. So based off of higher time frame candle behavior, what we are expecting is to see price create that upper wick to then flip and continue back to the downside. Now, something to keep in mind was that I was keeping an eye out for this potential short. However, I did end up talking myself out of it because I was telling myself if we're trending so strongly bullish and we have FOMC tomorrow, those are kind of two things stacking against me to not look to take the short. And I think a lot of it had to do with my intuition. So there was a nice little pullback where price pulled back into this area of interest. We had a shift in structure where price could have seen a continuation lower. And if we continue playing it, we do get a move down. However, no entry was taken. At this point in time, the 15 minute had also closed bullish. 30 minute is still open. Same with the hour and 4 hour. So at this point in time, there's just no trade. I am just simply paying attention. But at this point in time, during the beginning of the 7 o'clock handle, I was looking for something like this to potentially take a short. However, I ended up voiding it. And good thing I did, right? It most likely would have ended break even with the way I managed risk. So at this point in time, I am simply just watching price action. This is kind of telling me that sellers are just extremely exhausted. They don't want to push this lower at all after attempting to push down into this key area of interest 3 times. And by the way, this area of interest comes from these 30 minute and hourly levels right around here as marked. And yeah. So then from this point forward, what I am looking for a bullish scenario was number one, it's very obvious that the 15, 30 minute and the hourly before this candle was closing were all showing some bearishness, right? We have a bearish close beyond these levels on the hourly. Same thing with a 30 minute, just bearish structure, right? Making lower highs and lower lows from this point in time. Here's a high, low, lower high, lower low. So for me, usually a signal that price is going to want to continue lower. So what I was looking for in order for me to take longs was actually for price to close above these previous open close candles. So we had that on the 30 minute right there. And this was also an area right here on the 15 minute. Now, as we progress on throughout the day, we do see the fives start making higher highs and higher lows, right? we now eventually see price take out this previous high in the 15, which if you take a look right here, this is a previous high in the 15. However, I need to see price close in order to confirm that. So we move on to the next candle, we see price does close above here, signaling on the 15-minute that we have now had a shift in structure, right? And so now there could be a potential opportunity to take longs around here, but I was also aware of how strong the 30-minute was looking, right? How strong bearish this trend was on the 30-minute. So for me, I was telling myself, with it being already 7:45, let's just wait until the new hourly candle opens to see if we can get more confirmations, because our confirmations at the end of the day rely on candle closures, right? So as you can see, as we approach 7:55, we have a really strong bullish close, right? If we take a look at the 15, we close above this area right here, this open close. Same thing with this 30-minute, we close above this previous high, this previous key level right here. So that for me is showing a shift in structure on the 30-minute, hourly as well, closing above this previous open close as well. So that for me is looking pretty bullish. Pretty nice rally to the upside. 5-minute is obviously trending bullish. So now what I'm looking for is a pullback into this area of interest, right? To retest that level and hold to show that buyers want to continue pushing this higher. So literally right at the last minute, price started pushing and closed A2 above. And so what did I do? I just set my limit orders right here at this area of interest, which also aligned with this previous 5-minute open close, which a lot of people will call a demand zone, and also these higher time frame key levels as well. Place my stop. I could have placed it right here, right below these lows. However, I was aware of just these stacked demand zones, open closes that could hold, where price could potentially just wick me out and then continue higher. So just to play it safe, I kept it right below this previous 5-minute candle close. And with that being said, patiently waited, let my limits hit. Limit hit right there. Entry was at 8:04 a.m. and I was just looking for a continuation higher. Trailed my stops to break even after taking out these highs. 15-minute, 30 hourly, we're putting in that bottom wick. We had, at the time of entry, 5 candle confirmations. At this time of entry, this previous 5-minute candle was still open. Overall direction is bullish on the 1-minute, break and retest. 15-minute, creating that bottom wick to potentially flip and go higher. Same with the 30 and hourly. And if we just take a look, just super beautiful. Barely any drawdown. Ends up hitting my target, and I ended up calling it a day right there. Super easy, super simple, and it would have not been able to play out without the art of patience, right? There have been times back then where I would have totally taken this type of setup, a mediocre setup, and it would have burned me more times than not. However, what I started focusing on was just making sure the higher time frames really prove to itself that it wants to either continue lower, which we did not get here, or continue following the trend, which is something that I did here. So with that being said, overall, it was a very good trade. Closed this trade for a 1.77R. Didn't close any partials, just ended up letting my full take profit hit, and then I ended up calling it a day there. With that being said, that's going to be the end of this trade review. I look forward to potentially taking another trade tomorrow, but if the opportunity presents itself, it presents itself. If it doesn't, then it doesn't, right? So with that being said, that's going to be the end of the trade review, and I will see you guys tomorrow or Friday. Who knows? We do have FOMC tomorrow, so that's something that I should definitely be aware of. Potentially no trade during my session, during my New York session, just because there could be just very low volume. FOMC at 11, you know how it goes, right? So that being said, I will catch you guys later.